I'm going to show you. He
And
goes.
then that's where we see it. The Gustav Max comes out. His opponent doesn't even know what the card does. He has to read it.
Yeah, and even when you're not speaking German, you will be able to identify the 2000, which says 2000 damage, and that
and the handshake. That's it.
Yeah, it was a handshake, still sportsmanlike from Simone, and after that, he's just shaking his head like, "What just happened to me?"
He's just he was completely shocked.
Yeah.
I would have been shocked.
Yeah,
Gustav Max.
We only had like 1 minute to prepare the interview with Nino, and we were still like, "Oh my God, wow, this was something."
Yeah, I was stood watching the match just on the side there, and I was sat there like, Mecha Phantom.
They are a thing.
It's absolutely great to see that deck, but
yeah. But
so strange.
We've seen some of the crazier decks, so to speak.
Yeah.
Now we're going to go back to the regular scheduled program.
Yeah.
With Nekroz on the one side of the field, and on the other side of the field we have Tellarknights.
Yeah.
Yes. And both of these players have done well before. Emre Kizilates was top 8 at YCS Milan. He was the ultimate underdog, making it with Evil Swarm into a field full of a different, I think, Shadow back then.
Yeah.
And on the other hand, we got Brian Greiving from the Netherlands with Nekroz. So let's take you to the table, where Emre is on the left and Brian is sitting on the right.
Just preparing the decks. Yeah, so it's quite a good matchup, this one, because it's not necessarily really one-sided, and it's really good. Yeah,
the opinions are really split down the middle. I've heard from a couple of players that they think that Nekroz is favored, others saying the Tellarknights are favored, and then the other question is, do you run the new cards in the Tellarknights? Emre does not. So
so he's sticking to the real basic setup of Deneb, Altair, Vega, Nuclei. Those the 4 basics to Tellarknights, which get you the really good Exceed plays.
Yeah, and he starts quite furiously.
Yeah,
with
that's a great opening play.
Upstart and then reinforcement. Yeah, thinning out the deck, making sure you're going to draw into more important cards later on.
Yeah,
and now.
However, Brian did have a Max C there, so he will have been able to gain some cards back from that.
Right.
And hopefully, he's going to be able to put some big monsters on the board to be able to fend off these Tellarknight monsters. Right.
So Emre passes play on his first turn with the Vega Deneb on the field and the Mirror Force and Phoenix Chain. What do you think about Mirror Force?
Because I was just about to say about Mirror Force, it's very, very interesting in this matchup because it's not something that you immediately think about anymore. Oh, wow.
Oof, okay. Denko Seka.
Well, yeah, he definitely isn't going to think about that Mirror Force now because we see Denko Seka played.
Wow.
So this card, if you don't have any spell or traps of your own, then you can play the Denko Seka and it completely locks down your opponent's set cards and they can't set any more cards. They can still activate cards, but you're not allowed to set any more spell or trap cards on the field.
Yeah, and we've seen it being introduced from the side deck. Brian is playing it in the main deck. What do you think? Is that the right call?
It's quite a difficult one, to be honest. Like we've seen a lot of people playing it in the main deck for this exact situation that they're getting quite late in the tournament, but we still see these Tellarknight decks who are really quite trap heavy. And there we go. So you can still activate cards, and Dark Hole is most definitely a card you can activate in that situation.
Yep. So but fortunately for the Tellarknights, they don't mind losing their field as much as other decks.
Especially with having the Altair, which brings back Deneb. And Deneb, one of their main cards, because they get to search one of their Tellarknight monsters from their deck and add it to their hand. So most of the time, you'll be adding the Altairs back so you can make an Exceed play, and then get that Deneb back from the graveyard over and over again, so you can continue to get more and more Tellarknights over and over again. And it just kind of keeps that flow going.
All right. Well,
so we see a roughly similar field from the Tellarknight player passing here.
So that Dark Hole doesn't really hurt him at all. He's just taking 1 step back and then 2 steps forward. Yeah. So to speak. And now we see the first ritual spell card, the Nekroz Cycle for Brian.
So this one can get a Nekroz monster from the grave or from the hand, and we there see a Stellar Nova Alpha. So that negates the Nekroz Cycle, and you can't play another one of those because it says use on the Nekroz Cycle card, so that's going to stop him from using that ritual spell, but it's not going to stop him from using this one.
Yeah, he comes prepared, he's got everything.
Nekroz Kaleidoscope.
Yep.
And he tributes Shurit, I think.
Yeah.
So he's going to be able to use Shurit's effect, which allows you to go and get a Nekroz Warrior from your deck, which just helps continue to maintain those cards. So one thing that really helps the Nekroz deck is that generally whenever they try and ritual summon, they always try and either draw some cards or take some cards away from the opponent to make up for the sacrifices that they have to make to ritual summon their cards.
All right. And Emre is checking that everything is fine, cutting the opponent's deck here. And what does he have? He's got the Mind Crush, such a good card against Nekroz.
Yeah, so you can play that. If you can make some really good reads on your opponent cards, then you can play that the moment they try and ritual summon, and then take the card out of their hand they were going to ritual summon. And then even sometimes they can be forced to ritual summon a card that they didn't want to ritual summon, which is a really, really good play. So really good card against Nekroz.
Yeah. But also against many other decks.
Yeah, against many other
everybody's searching these days.
Yeah, especially it slows down any deck that's searching through their deck and kind of crafting their hand.
All right, and now we have a judge call with Emre confirming how a card works, I think.
Yeah, maybe asking
the cycle, in fact.
Yeah, so they could potentially be asking about the.
And this is one of the unique things about the European events. With all those different languages that we are speaking, sometimes you're getting. I don't think we have Dutch cards, so Emre might be asking about the. He should be familiar with Nekroz cycle, I think. Just wants to make sure how the banishing works, I guess.
Yeah, it's possibly that. I think in this situation he can't banish it because he does control a monster, but it's possible that he's asking about that situation of the card saying used or activated, so they can only use it once per turn versus activate it once per turn. So again, you might be familiar, but not necessarily those really intricate details about the ritual spell cards.
And one word can make all the difference when it comes to these effects.
Yep.
All right. So both guys just confirming that they are on the same page. Yeah. And who is currently ahead, in your opinion, or is it too early to tell?
I think it's early to tell, but I do think there's a Tellarknight player with he's got a lot of great cards set on the field and in his hand. I mean, he has Soul Charge in hand.
Which
that
is
can
big
really,
for Tellarknights.
yes,
yeah.
That can really swing the tides of a game really quickly, making a very strong play with one of their Exceed monsters.
Right, and what is Brian looking for here? What kind of cards does Brian want to draw into?
Yeah, so I think the idea behind this right now is so Brian's going to have to try and make some really powerful plays, which will allow him to force his opponent to use his trap cards. Yeah. And then when he's managed to get all those trap cards out of the way, he can be free to play the Trishula, or make a big attack with like the Unicorn or the Valkyrus.
And when you're going up against Tellarknights in particular, what do you expect to be there in the back row? You're got to be prepared for the Tellarnova Alpha, I guess?
Yeah, oh, definitely. That's always in the forefront of your mind because you think to yourself, so if you have a Manju or a Senju, then if that gets negated, that's kind of how your play starts. And sometimes you craft your hand in such a way where you've got to have your plays go in the correct order and get everything to work. Otherwise, your play's going to have to stop because you might just have a handful of ritual monsters and no ritual spell cards.
Right.
So it's cards like that, and then so Fiendish Chain, Tellarknight Alpha. But I definitely Mirror Force is not a card that's in the front of my mind. So I think here in this situation, I don't know whether Brian's going to want to attack just in case he does have that Mirror Force card.
And it seems we have an appeal, in fact, so the head judge will be called over to deal with an issue on the table. Yeah. Or alternatively, our judge had to. I don't think that he had to get an official card reference, because Nekroz Cycle, we can almost tell what it does by heart.
I could tell you what it does.
Yeah. So I would be surprised if Thomas needed an official reference.
Yeah.
And so Emre now has a sheet of paper.
Yeah, so that's potentially a printout of one of the cards. That's what we've been doing at YCS Bochum to give players a chance to keep that with them.
Oh, okay.
I think that's what it could be anyway.
So there's the Mirror Force now.
Yeah, so that's actually a big thing, because now you can't use Valkyrus's effects to be able to tribute monsters and draw cards.
This was not what Emre asked, because it's obvious that this effect can only be used in the main phase, right?
Yeah, must be.
All right, so now Nekroz of Bryanek is being discarded in main phase 2.
So that's one of your main searching cards in Nekroz. So that allows you to go get any of your Nekroz ritual monsters, which can give you access to the likes of Unicorn, which allows you to fetch a card from the graveyard, which is a Nekroz card. So that can be a mirror as well as a monster. And it also allows you to search any of your bigger Nekroz cards like Trishula or Valkyrus to be able to summon them. It also allows you to get the likes of Clausulus.
And now so he's going
here
for...
Here we see the Trishula.
Trishula, yeah.
Yeah.
The all-important Trishula.
Yeah. So this is going to take away 2 of his cards that are in the field and in his hand, which are kind of the main important ones, but it also takes away the Deneb from the graveyard, which is really, really important, because that's the main card that Tellarknights are going to be using over and over again.
So Emre is now left with just the Soul Charge, the Tellarknight, Altair, and one more card that he just drew into, Fiendish Chain.
Another Fiendish Chain.
What do you make of that?
Yeah, so I think that was a very big swing of momentum in this game. He's just taken a lot of cards from him. So especially the banishing the Deneb from the graveyard, that was quite important. But I think he still has Vega in there, if I remember correctly. Or he could have... No, he has definitely got another Vega in there, so he can use that.
All right, so that is his way of fighting back. Is it going to be enough?
I think it's going to be enough, especially considering that Brian only has a Nekroz Cycle in hand and then Trishula on the board. So he can make a very strong monster with 101 that's going to take away that Trishula, which takes away the option to summon it from the graveyard as well with Nekroz Cycle.
Yep.
Which is good. And here we see the Soul Charge being played. So I do wonder what he's going to exceed summon here. Possibly number 80 Rhapsody in Berserk or something else. I'm unsure.
But now we got to say that Emre is kind of out of options. This is pretty much it.
Yeah.
He does have the Fiendish Chain to protect his field, the field that he's building at the moment.
Yeah.
And after that, he's...
That's going to be it.
That's going to be it,
This is kind of a last stand. Oh, so he's going to make Abyss Dweller. This allows him to stop his mirrors activating and stops him from gaining some cards via that method. So we'll see what card Brian draws here.
Yeah. What does he want to draw? Not the Nekroz of Decisive Armor.
That's probably not one of the best ones to draw.
And I haven't seen that card that many times on the deck list.
Yeah, it's quite controversial, is Decisive Armor, because it's a good out to the Djinlock with Dance Princess, but at the same time, it's taking up valuable spots in your deck, which could be filled with the likes of the hand traps, things like that. So it's just... It's a decision that you've got to make when you're building your deck, whether you want to use that as an out to the Djinlock, the Dance Princess, and Decisive Armor combo, because they are searchable via Brian Axe. So that's one route you can go, or you can use other outs. But
and the thing is, like from a psychological perspective, Brian must have felt like, I almost got this.
Yeah, that was very close.
And then
whenever you play Trishula, it always feels really powerful. It, always,
like,
it really does.
I'm really sitting in the driver's seat here.
Yeah.
Suddenly Emre finds that Soul Charge, turns it around, and now he's sitting there, not quite with his back against the wall, I would say.
Yeah.
And he's shuffling up his cards.
Yeah, so I think
done from Emre.
Yeah, I think he showed him a Mind Crush.
Yeah, no, the Mind Crush was for the Trishula.
Ah, right.
He ripped it from the hand with the Trishula.
Okay.
So it's not like he was giving it away. He just saw it for the Trishula.
Okay, so yeah, that's the first game over. That was quite a strange turn of events, really. Brian was kind of in control, and then we saw Emre suddenly picking up some advantage.
Yep.
And then it swung back to Brian with the Trishula, and then suddenly, Emre really went all in with that Soul Charge play.
Do you think that it was the correct move to go for Denko Sekka that early?
It was quite strange, actually, because he had nothing to follow it up with. If you're going to make a Denko Sekka play, usually you should have something else to do afterwards.
Yep.
If he had a Manjaro Senju to summon, it had been much better to begin with. But I think in the second and third game, we're going to probably see the likes of Royal Decree, some more Mystical Space Typhoons, which with Denko Sekka can provide a really great move. You can set Royal Decree, you can summon Denko Sekka, and then use your priority when you've summoned Denko Sekka to play Royal Decree, and that completely locks down your opponent's cards, whether that's spell cards or trap cards in their spell and trap card zone. So I think without that kind of aspect, it's a little bit lackluster if you don't have anything to follow it up with.
Okay.
Following it up with something like Decree is really, really, really powerful if you have some ritual play to make.
So kind of questionable.
Yeah, kind of questionable.
And
I'd say.
from Emre's end, did you see anything where you were not sure? I would have played it like that or differently.
No, I think that was I hate to say perfect execution of the Tellarknight deck there. He knew when to go all in, which was really important.
Yeah.
Really, really important.
So, yeah, like you said, perfect execution. Well done, Emre Kizilates. He is definitely a good player. I mean, if you're taking Evo Swamp to the top 8,
yeah.
in a field that really doesn't favor, well, not exactly.
Yeah.
It's not like Evo Swamp was the worst deck,
no,
but nobody had it.
The best deck in those.
Yeah, nobody really had it on the radar.
Yeah. But again, so we do have to go back to the fact that Soul Charge is at 1. So, you know, that was quite lucky on his part. So
yeah,
it's one of those situations. You don't want to say that it was perfect in the sense that he did everything he could with what he had. So and he happened to have a card that's only at 1. So
Emre is playing Spell Canceller in his side deck. I think he's also running 1 copy in his main deck. At least he told me something like that earlier.
Thunder King Ryo. So we see Thunder King Ryo in there, which is a good one. I just saw something quite strange in his side deck, actually.
He's got the mistakes.
2 mistakes.
Yep.
Especially in a... So it is a really good card against Nekroz.
Yep.
But it stops your Deneb plays, which is quite strange. But I do think it does hurt Nekroz much more.
Yeah, the big question is it okay to hurt myself if I'm hurting my opponent so much more?
Yeah. So
I think you think it's worth...
Yeah, I think in certain situations you can probably make a really nice play with Tellarknight Triver, so you can put all the cards back in your opponent's hand so you feel safe, and then flip that up, and then not even Denko Sekka is going to be able to stop that for at least a turn. Not Roll Decree either, because you got to set that again. And if you can manage to get Triver on and on, just over and over again each turn, you're gonna be feeling in a great position.
Yep.
Because that's another thing. You can bring the mistake back to your hand with Triver if necessary.
That's something to keep in mind, yeah. And other than that, we got Mystical Space Typhoons, Maxi, Shadow Imprisoning Mirror. They are not going to come in. The Chaos Trap Hole and Mirror of the Ice Barrier.
Yeah, so this is a very, very interesting card. It's something that I didn't personally play in my Nekroz build, but it's very, very interesting. It can take a Trishula and really turn it back on you. Anytime a card is banished from either your hand, field, or graveyard, after it's resolved, you get to banish 2 from your opponent's respective areas. So if your opponent plays Trishula and you manage to play Mirror of the Ice Barrier, then you get to banish 2 cards from your opponent's hand, graveyard,
payback of the worst
field.
kind.
Exactly, it's really strong.
All right, so Emre is kicking things off in the second game. These are the 4 cards in his hand after he summoned a Tellarknight Vega to the field. And Reinforcement of the Army, of course, searching that in the first place.
So he was going to summon Deneb from his hand as well, but he got Effect Veiled. So that negates the effect of Vega, which it's kind of okay, I guess. Oh, well, here's the secret's out. Mirror of the Ice Barrier has been destroyed, so...
too bad.
Yeah.
And there's a Manchu of the 10,000 hands, and there was a saying going around the venue, Manchu on your first turn means chinlock. Do you think it's what we're going to see here?
It's possible, but against this Tellarknight deck, it's not necessarily something you want to do as like a desperate move, but it is looking that way, because he gets the Klausulus in the graveyard early, so he could possibly be going for a chinlock, but we'll soon find out.
There's the Unicorn.
If we see a Laval Chain.
Yep. The Laval Chain is a dead giveaway.
Yeah, that's going to be the dead giveaway. So he's either going to use the Laval Chain for a play with Shurit, because he can put the Shurit in the graveyard and then summon any of the Nekroz monsters from his hand using the Nekroz Mirror, or it is going to be a Diginlock. So we'll see, but he doesn't seem to have any other cards in his hand that are going to like overly protect the Diginlock. So
yep. My money is on the Chinlock.
Yeah, we'll see. But if he does the Chinlock, in fact, we see that Emre does have Regeki in his hand, which is great out to the Chinlock, because it's going to just destroy that monster.
True that, yeah.
It's that monster that's the...
So Brian attacked with both of his monsters, I think?
Yeah, I think he attacked over the Vega, and then...
Just passed play.
Attacked with Manju, and then passed, yeah.
Okay, so
That's quite interesting.
I stand corrected. He did not go for that lock. And Emre, with his Unukalhai and Deneb, he just drew into a Mystical Space Typhoon.
Yep. So that was the Deneb that he planned on summoning with Vega, but he didn't manage to summon last turn because he got effect veiled.
Did he search for that Deneb?
Yeah, I think he played Reinforcement to the Army on either the Vega or the Deneb last turn. I couldn't quite see which one it was. So he did have that combo. He knew he had that combo. So the effect veiler was an obvious play to hit Vega with that, because otherwise he'd be ahead with 2 monsters on the field. But yeah, so here we see one set card on the field, the Mystical Space Typhoon.
Yep, and the Deneb in front of it.
Yeah.
And
so here we see Preparation of Rites.
Such a good card.
Yeah, it's very, very good. So this card turns into 2 cards. One from your deck, which is going to be a ritual monster, and one from the graveyard, which is a ritual spell card. We see Emre just helping his opponent out there.
He's like, here you go.
Here you go. I know you're going to go get this, so here you go.
Right, let's just make this a little bit faster.
Yeah, so we're going to see another Unicorn here, sending another Herald of the Arclight, which allows him to, again, search even more. So as I was saying earlier about the ritual spell cards kind of netting you advantage at the same time, so this is a perfect example. So using the Kaleidoscope with Unicorn always leaves you with Unicorn, and you get 1 card which replaces the Kaleidoscope with Arclight. So that kind of it's what really maintains the deck's card advantage, because you can really
the engine
keep the
keeps
flow
going, keeps going. Yeah, like you say.
It's not quite an infinite
loop.
It's not quite an infinite loop where you can just keep playing cards, because you do end up using all of your mirrors. Yeah, but it does kind of keep going for quite a while.
It almost feels like the Nekroz deck is like a perpetuum mobile.
Yeah, exactly.
And there's the second Manju.
Yeah.
And both players are holding on to the Raigeki here. So no matter what the opponent is throwing at you, you are going to have an out and come back.
Yeah. Yeah, so it's a very important card. So we'll see just when they decide to use it. So we see Decisive Armor. So in any matchup other than the mirror match, I do believe that Decisive Armor is quite good because of its other effect not many people know about. It's that you get to target 1 set card on the field that your opponent controls, and it gets banished, which is really good.
Yeah.
Obviously, you're taking cards away from your opponent, and that's once per turn as well.
Yeah.
So here we see him banishing the Mystical Space Typhoon.
Right.
Yeah. And he decides to play his Raigeki now.
And
here we go. This is quite a lot of damage.
1-1 between Emre, Kizilates and Brian Greiving. Just the round before, we complained that we haven't seen a lot of 2-1s this weekend.
Yeah, well, here we go.
Yeah, absolutely, yeah. That Raigeki, well, not 100% crucial, but it made sure that it was enough damage.
Yeah, it really hit that play home.
Wow.
So, yeah, and you just see the power of the Nekroz deck being shown right there. The amount of damage that they could deal.
Do you think that Brian was coming up with that line of play during his turn? Or do you think that at the beginning of the turn he was like, I can go big now, and he's going to go home?
So I think in a way, he had MST last turn for one of his opponent's back rows. So at that point he could try, because at any point during his play that he made during that turn, he could have been Satellanova Alpha, he could have been Fiendish Chained. And he knew that he wasn't going to be Mirror Force because he'd get to banish the card before the battle phase.
Yes.
So all the cards that were going to stop his plays, I think, could have stopped him at any point during that turn, and the play would have still been good.
Right,
It would still have been a good play at that point.
So very good decision making.
Yeah, he probably planned out the whole turn and thought, right, okay, if I do manage to get through all of my cards and use all of my cards in this turn, then I'm going to be able to win the game.
Yep.
But if not, then progressively my play is going to get to a point where it's going to be stopped, and then it can be from there I can take a different route. So for example, if the Manju would have been negated, then they can go into some Exceed play like Emerald or something like that.
Yep.
Just to finish that off.
He could have gone for Trishula instead.
Yeah, but I think it wasn't enough damage with Trishula.
Yeah, so we approve the decision making here.
Yeah.
Not going for Trishula, which is the obvious move most of the time, but instead going for, well, let's walk down victory lane.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay. Well, so it's 1-1 between those two veterans, with Emre on the left and Brian on the right. And for the last game, I believe that Emre is going to go first again.
Yeah, that makes sense, because the Tellarknight deck has a lot of trap cards which they can set first turn and really set up their board control.
All right, and we are having the first cards showing up for Brian.
Okay, so this hand's looking pretty good right now.
Yeah, so much surge. And, well, Emre wants to have a mistake in his opening 5, I think.
Yeah.
Oh, actually, Brian is going first.
Yeah, so he let him go first.
And this looks a little bit like the chin lock again.
Yeah. there we hedge our bets again. So, yeah. But again, he doesn't have anything particularly exciting to protect it, so... Oh, so there we go. We do actually see that Emre does have a mistake in his opening hand.
Wow, so Emre could have chosen to go first.
If he'd have gone first, I think with that opening hand, he'd have won the game straight up.
Of course, he doesn't know that.
No, exactly.
He's going to draw into that.
But here we go. So we see Thunder King Ryo.
Why does Brian just pass after that Unicorn and Century? Is that the correct play to against Tellarknights to just say, okay, Unicorn is going to be enough?
I think he was just trying to establish some board presence. I think it's hard to kind of make an Exceed monster and hope that wins you the game.
Okay.
But here we see Emre, his entire hand, apart from that one Vega, hits the field.
So actually, it's not too late for the mistake, so to speak.
No, it's not at all. And so here's where Brian's probably thinking, well, I've still got my Unicorn I can attack over that Thunder King with. But as we know, Emre does have a Fiendish Chain that you can possibly use here. Oh, okay, so that was a fantastic move.
Denko Sega coming from the top of Brian's deck and immediately hitting play.
Yeah.
Oof, that really hurts.
Yeah, that really swung the momentum the opposite way, because he also had a Mystical Space Typhoon to get rid of that mistake and the Thunder King Ryo in one swift move.
And this is Yu-Gi-Oh! At its core. Like, one card can swing the game.
We were saying just how much in control that Emre was, but with just this 2-card combo, it's completely the other way around now.
Yeah. All right, so suddenly Brian is sitting in the driver's seat again.
Yeah.
And he's not going to run out of steam anytime soon.
Nope. So I think we see Emre just passed straight away then. Yeah, he must have done. So there's the Manju.
And so now Emre needs Raigeki.
Yeah. Yeah, so... Yeah,
and he flips his cards and
gives up straight away.
Wow. And that really hurts.
Yeah,
after
he does seem pretty displeased about that.
Yeah, after the first game, which he won in spectacular fashion.
Yeah.
Like you said, perfect execution.
Yeah.
Second and third game gets wrecked.
Yeah. Yeah, to put it how it was, get wrecked is probably a good way to put it.
But also kudos to Brian Greiving, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Because in the second game, not going for what seems to be the obvious play with the Trishula, instead going with the decisive armor and identifying this is going to be enough damage.
Yeah.
And like you pointed out, even if that doesn't work.
Yeah, his play was progressive, so he could stop at any time, and it had still been in a good play to be in a good position.
And in the third game, Denko Seka was all she wrote.
Yeah, exactly. So remember, I was saying before, you need something to back up the Denko Seka. So he already had the Unicorn on the table, ready to follow up and hit that Thunder King and get rid of him.
Maybe he learned from that experience in the first game, where the Denko Seka didn't do that much. And wow, well done to Brian Greiving.
Yeah, that was a great game.
Yeah, and we're gonna have him over for an interview in just a second. In between, we can take a look at the country breakdown for today's event, so you guys can take a closer look where all the players that are in attendance today are coming from. Not that surprisingly, we got a couple of Germans in the venue, 720. Although I gotta say, guys, I'm disappointed. We had more than 1,000 Italians back in December for YCS Milan.
Yeah, that was quite a high attendance event.
And wow, 4-digit amount just from one country, that is quite something.
Yeah,
well done, Italy. And today we're kind of missing out on the other countries in a way. I'm surprised that Netherlands is the second most represented country.
Yeah.
It appears that a lot of players from the foreign countries have instead opted to save their money and attend their national events.
Yeah, so we've got the national events coming up, and then
after that, of course, the European Championship.
The European Championships.
Yeah.
Very soon after.
So, well, maybe the timing has been... I think April is a good month for a YCS. Just generally speaking. It's just with the nationals around the corner, it's kind of hard for some players, Well, but we're going to have more YCS later this year, of course, so you guys will have opportunities to attend those. For the time being, let's take another look at Brian's deck list. Is there anything in particular which you would say this is something we need to talk about? The decisive armor,
yeah,
I guess?
So, yeah, as I was saying before, so the Dance Princess decisive armor combo is kind of the choice that you can make as an out to the Djinn lock in the mirror match. So let's take a look. So he's also playing Book of Eclipse, which is another great out to the Djinn lock because it puts it face down and then it forgets that it's been
3 copies of that.
used.
Because I've seen players contemplating, should I only run 1 or maybe 2, and some guys are like, I never want to lose to the Djinn lock, so I'm going to play 3 Book of Eclipse, even if they might be a little bit worse against other decks.
Yeah, so another, not really strange, but something that was a little bit different is that he's playing Mystical Space Typhoon in the main deck. Not many people have been doing that up until recently. We saw more people playing Mystical Space Typhoon because of the decks that have Mistake as kind of a main card to shut you down.
Yeah,
so
to make sure you got an answer in the main deck.
Yeah.
All right, we're going to take a very quick break and going to be right back with Brian Greiving, the winner of round 6. So don't go anywhere. And thank you, Luke, for this.
Thank you very much.
It was a pleasure.
Yeah, see you soon.